Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the RTX games. For those of you just joining us, we have some of our favorite contenders here as a bit of a highlights reel. Oh, that never gets old. Now, we had a few people that are gonna feel this in the morning, but none more than the classic Big Red Ball. Now, this guy, he had a lot of confidence, but taken down rather easily. This, however, has got to be one of my all-time favorites. We're gonna have to get that on the instant replay. Now, we do have to have one winner. He almost didn't make it. He managed to cling back on. He didn't get taken out by the log. And with just a few more jumps, he was able to be our champion of the year. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you for next year's games. In this video, we'll go over an easy way to animate characters using gaming controls and how to quickly apply Ragdoll physics to a character, all without leaving Unreal Engine 5. My name is Sir Wade, I'm an animator and a 3D artist, and I'm going to be working on an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5090 GPU, which, as you can guess, pretty much means that I'm going to have extremely good performance in anything I choose to do in Unreal Engine, specifically all of the real-time physics simulations, all the rendering, so everything you see is going to be running in real time without any lag. Now, the easiest way to create an obstacle course like the one we had in our example here would be to start with the game animation sample pack. You can download it for free and you'll get to access both a great animation system and a demo level that has these climbable boxes already set up for the motion matching gameplay demo. You can just start with this as a base, but if you want to start with your own custom blockout, you could either create a brand new level or just go into modeling mode from here and select the cube grid tool. This is a super fun way to literally block out your obstacle course by selecting grid squares and then using E and Q to raise and lower the platforms. Before you finish though, you need to make sure you hit the modeling settings and under the new mesh settings, hit complex only. I'll show you why in just a second. But from here, create whatever you'd like. You can always come back and make adjustments later. Hit accept when you're done and it'll create the object, and keep in mind that if you skipped that complex collision setting, these objects will not have any collisions by default. This means your characters can't walk on the surfaces and they'll phase right through the walls. But to make sure that the game sample character can actually climb on these blocks and vault over low walls, the easiest way is honestly just to duplicate these built-in boxes to create the ledges. These objects are blueprints with logic that actually connect into the animation system and allow you to have that functionality. Epic provided these so that we can use them for this exact purpose, so don't be shy, go for it. If you don't use these, you won't be able to have your character mantle up and over the objects. And depending on how precise you want to be trying to match these things up, you can also just hide these boxes by selecting hidden in game mode. That'll keep them visible while you're working, but they'll be hidden when running gameplay, which is what matters. Once that's all done, you can test out your parkour course by going into play mode and practicing what you want your character to do. And this whole process of playing our game in the editor is just like playing a game normally. Our RTX GPU is keeping everything in the viewport super smooth, with all of our game inputs being incredibly responsive as we have the specialized animation fitting our customized collision. With all these calculations running in real time, and as you'll see in a moment, we're going to even start recording all of this stuff and interacting with it in all kinds of cool ways. All that to point out that your GPU, while super important for playing games, is equally, if not more important, here creating games. When you're ready to capture your animation, open up the take recorder, hit play, and add the character blueprint to the take recorder. We're going to go ahead and hit record to start the countdown. Now, everything that we do is going to get saved into a level sequence. So go ahead and do a little test or run your whole obstacle course, whatever you'd like to do. When you're finished, hit escape to stop recording and click this button to preview that capture that you just did. First thing, go ahead and unlock the level sequence so that it's no longer read only, and double click on the subsequence here to actually see all the pieces of the recorded blueprint. Now, everything we need is recorded, including things like sound effects for the different footfalls if you're interested in using those. Now, for best results, what we're going to do at this point is we're actually going to exit all this take recorder and the sequencer. I'm going to go out, I'm going to go back to my content folder, navigate to cinematics, takes, and you're going to go find the recording that you just did. It'll be noted by the date, and then whichever take was your most recent. I've done a couple here while I was recording, so this is my most recent take number 4. That's what I'm going to go with. Now here you want to make sure that we have this unlocked. We go into our subsequence, and you can see here we have all that stuff that we just previewed a moment ago. What we want to do next is bake the character's motion down and extract the combination of both the character's animation data and the position of the character in 3D space. Because right now, everything is in sort of a gameplay animation mode where the character motion lives here and the actual transformation data lives here. We need these combined into a more of a cinematic workflow rather than a games workflow. Create a folder in the content drawer for your animation data to live. And back in our recorded level sequence, I'm going to just right click on the character, the blueprint, and we're going to bake the animation sequence for this character. Into our folder, give it a memorable name, run anim01. Make sure you hit record in world space to actually combine the position data with the animation data. And we're going to go find that file in our animation folder. And immediately you want to double click it, see if it actually has the character running away, which there it goes. There he goes running off. And first thing, just save that, Control S. That way, if we crash or something, we don't lose this data. Now, it's not always guaranteed, but it's sometimes helpful to go navigate to this sequence manually to do this process. If you try to do it from the take recorder where you're kind of checking the most recently recorded session and you try to do the bake sequence from here, sometimes it doesn't work. Kind of hit and miss. I don't know why. So that's why I went and actually manually navigated into my cinematics folder to do this bake. But from here, we're good to continue. Now we're ready to add physics. We could use the same level sequence we were just in, or we could create a fresh one. It is totally up to you. But if we right click and make a new level sequence, if we are doing it from scratch, we'll go into any level sequence and we want to drop in a fresh copy of our character. You'll find it under characters. We can filter by skeletal mesh, and we want to make sure we pick the same mannequin that we were already using. Once that's dropped in the animation track, hit the plus and select the animation that we just saved, run anim. Since the character's position was baked in, you should be able to hit play and see your character run the track. If the character is just standing here doing all their animation in place and not moving, it means that you didn't have the world space checkbox selected. Go back and try again. Go ahead and expand our range of motion here. And there we have our full character running around. From here, triggering physics is actually super easy, barely an inconvenience. Pick the frame before you want your character to ragdoll, select the skeletal mesh object, and set a key on the simulate physics property over here in the detail panel. Now on the next frame, using the checkbox that was created down in the sequencer, turn physics on for this object. It does not work as well if you use the detail view again for this checkbox. And if you're not playing in game mode, nothing's going to happen. But if you are in play mode and ejected, or if you even just hit simulate, that's a little bit faster way to get to this, you can now scrub the timeline or hit play and watch your character ragdoll in real time. Keep in mind that the inherited velocity of your character is sort of based on the playback rate. So if you scrub through the timeline, things are moving a lot faster than they should, and your character's probably going to go flying. So you may get different results each time you hit play, and playback velocities will be slower when you're actually rendering, so you'll probably end up tweaking the timing based on that. One of the reasons that this process is so special is because we're actually able to simulate these physics of our character and all the ragdolls in real time by running the simulation on the GPU. That's essentially what sets this process apart from other software. This type of dedicated hardware acceleration is what allows us to play so freely with these physics-based workflows. Now, why didn't we just do this part with the original blueprint character that was already here in the recorded sequence, you may be asking? Well, that's because if we are not playing in the editor, the character won't show up, for one. But also, if we are in the editor mode and you see your character, if we try to do it here, once we have the ragdoll working, scrubbing back doesn't actually reset the character properly for some reason. To be honest, I didn't bother looking into why this happens, so I'm not sure. But it definitely works this other way, and that's good enough for me. From here, my recommendation is build your props around the animation. So if you want to add in new shapes, any object with collisions will affect your ragdoll character while you're in the play in editor mode. And luckily, all of the default shapes have these collisions built in. Just make sure that as soon as you add a shape, you come over to the details and you change it from static to movable. It has to be movable for this to work. Then go into simulate mode. Now, whenever you hit play, you can now interact with the character. If you make anything in modeling mode, you're going to have to set up the collisions on your own. Now, like I said earlier, this physics checkbox works because these mannequins already have physics assets built in for us. That's why we decided to use these. To try this animation on another character, we need to retarget the animation sequence onto that character, and that character also has to have a physics asset to deal with the ragdoll simulation. We're not going to deal with that in this video. I'm just flagging it here in case that's what you're looking to do, and you now know what to search for. But anyways, all we have to do is pick the frame where we want to enable the physics, select our mannequin character, keyframe the simulate physics property so that we get access to it in the sequencer, and just set it to a toggle. You can easily drag these keyframes around to retime when this happens, and you can get all kinds of cool and fun results. Using this method, there's no simple way to bake this all down to an animation sequence to make it super predictable and frame accurate, but the preview is easy enough, and anytime you want to render a final output, the game simulation is triggered anyways, so your physics will be calculated when you actually output video. And it's worth pointing out that throughout this entire process, we have been rendering our 3D scene in real time using our RTX GPU, especially if we start cranking up the settings to our ray trace lighting. The dedicated ray tracing cores will handle all of that without killing our frame rate. Because of this hardware, the lighting process becomes a fun and playful part of our overall workflow, allowing us to test out a whole bunch of different ideas and lighting conditions very quickly. But now you can just record some additional characters or duplicate what you already got and just stagger the timing. And now you've got an obstacle course race to the finish with a bunch of unsuspecting racing candidates ready to go. And now you're ready to take on any physics challenge in your Unreal cinematics. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe to the NVIDIA Studio YouTube channel for more tutorials like this from other amazing creators. And we'll see you in the next one.